Okay, so this podcast between Ryan Clark and Andrew Schulz on the Pivot is making a lot of headlines. I made a video about this yesterday with some background on their beef, so you can check that out after this video. That said, this clip has been making the rounds on social media as comedian Andrew Schulz basically doubled down on his joke and checked Ryan Clark about his past guests he's had on the Pivot podcast. Anyways, before I play that clip, I just want to say that I think it's good that these two met up and had an honest conversation like grown men instead of beefing it on the side. Nothing but respect for these two for settling their differences like men face to face.
I'll tell you what you want to know what my initial reaction is, which I think is kind of unfair, but my initial reaction was when I saw you guys talking about it, and I was like, okay, he wants to protect black women, and this is very important. And then I looked on every one of the episodes that you had to see if there was any guys on here that beat up black women. Mm-hmm. And there were. And I looked to see if you guys addressed it on the pod, and you didn't.
Okay.
Now, I also saw you guys had the episode with DeAndre's mom talking about domestic violence. So I was like, okay, this is good and this is powerful, this is important. But my knee-jerk reaction was, man, I get a whole section that's not even part of an episode. Mm-hmm. And these guys who we know have actually for a joke, and these guys who have actually hurt black women and convicted, not allegations, because I don't go off of allegations, I go off of conviction. Everybody can get an allegation, it means nothing. And then these guys, they don't get anything. So in that moment, I was like, this feels like a clout play. It doesn't feel like the highest priority is protecting these women. So that was my initial reaction.
So I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
We have had people on this show that have been convicted for domestic violence that have pulled it out of the show.
That have pulled it out of the show?
That I have asked about it.
Oh, and then they're like, I don't want it on the show.
Yeah, and I do, because people come on our show voluntarily.
Of course.
I do ask those questions in respectful ways. Right, I'm not, hey man, you're a woman beater, but I will say,
sure.
In one of the instances that was pulled, I said, look, you were convicted of something that no man wants attached to his name.
Amen.
And they answered it. We talked to their people. I was like, man, the answer was good, and they pulled it out of the show. So we've had that happen.
But I don't think it's fair to limit what we can joke about. I think one thing we often say is you can only joke about the experiences you've had. But I don't know if that's true, because we were laughing at Handyman when we were younger, right? He wasn't retarded. None of us are retarded, but we laugh at these things all the time. So you can't tell me White Chicks isn't a funny ass movie.
It's hilarious.
They're not white women. Why are they allowed to make that joke? Because it's funny. We know it's well-intentioned. They're not trying to hurt people's feelings. There might be some white women, they're like Karens, and they watch that movie and how the f could you do that? That really hurt me. They're allowed to feel that way. We might disagree, but I'm not gonna remove their agency as comedians to be able to do these things. So naturally, sometimes people's feelings get hurt. And that's based on the experience they had. You have daughters, you have this wife that you love. We have these situations in our life that we really want. We have sensitivities to certain things, you know what I mean? My dad has dementia. When I hear jokes about that, I probably think about my dad, and it's probably maybe a little less funny to me than somebody who doesn't have any connection to it. And there might be moments where it's way funnier. There's all these different things. So what I don't want to do is start going you have to have lived that exact experience in order to talk on it. Because I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's good for comedy.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for comedy. I mean, it's not good in life, right? Because I haven't actually lived the black woman experience, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I wasn't trying to tell you that in any way. I think the thing that's true about what you said is, you talk about intent impact. I talk to my kids about it all the time. I do know in it, my intent was, I had no intention on protecting your ability to joke. I had no intention on making sure everyone knew it was a joke. I had no intention on telling people or showing people that I enjoy all comedy. I do think it's extremely fair for you to talk about black women. I do.
Yeah.
Because, how many jokes do we make about white women, or how many jokes do, that is part of comedy.
And keep making
and it was
it's funny, right, it's great that we all do
raw and delirious. Those are all my favorite.
Like,
right, and so I do understand that just in this case, like you said, the intent and impact, it felt differently. Yeah. That was why I addressed it.
Okay, so I like how Andrew brought that up. Obviously, off the top of my head, Schulz was probably referring to Floyd Mayweather, Chad Johnson, and Tyreek Hill. I don't recall any of the conversations these three had on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, and I think RC addressed the question pretty well. He didn't seem to be hiding from it and acknowledged the issue and said he addressed it on his podcast. But the second part, where Schulz talked about why making a joke without actually having experience, he made total sense. The way he broke it down about why he can make jokes pretty much left Ryan Clark speechless. Jokes are often made by comedians who've never experienced whatever they're joking about. It's usually all in good fun and humor. Anyways, what did y'all think about what Andrew Schulz said? Did what he say change your opinion?